Hello, my name is jahg, and welcome to another video. Now, about 2 years ago, I did a blooper. I think it's one of my first bloopers. It wasn't really a blooper, it's just a video showing how I set up Bukkit, the Minecraft server, for JPM. So I did that in the Mac, and I said at the time that I would very quickly create another version that showed how to do it for Windows, because it was very similar. Well, the latter part is true, it is very similar, but I never did it because I never got around to it, so now I'm getting around to it. I had a request, I think it was a request, to find out how to set up a Bukkit server so that other people could connect to a local machine, so that's what I'm going to do now. So, I've got a variety of links. I'll put them all in the video description. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you have Java installed, make sure it's an up-to-date version. So, the first place you want to go to is java.com and do the free download, and basically next your way through the entire process of doing that. Once that's done, Java will be installed in your machine in here. There we go. JRE7, and then in here there will be various bits and pieces you need. So javaw.exe, java.exe, that's what we're going to use. So if you have this already, then it's likely you'll be able to start setting this business up. So I've got that, I'll just minimize that, might need that again. The next thing you need is Bukkit itself. Now you can get this from dl.bukkit.org. You can get to it from the Bukkit website, so if you just put bukkit.org in there, and then somewhere, Getcraft Bukkit, I think. However, this gets you a more direct link, so I would suggest, since we want the latest version, if you don't mind about there's possible bugs and whatnot, then alternate versions, and it lists all of them, and you can see the latest one, for the moment anyway, is 1.7.2 release 0.3, so it's not yet a fully functional build, or at least fully debugged build, but that's what I'd recommend grabbing. So you'll go to this red button right here, download the development build, and you'll right click it and you'll save it somewhere. Now I would strongly recommend that you save it in a folder somewhere. I've already got it on the desktop here, but I would suggest that you save it in a suitable folder. Let's call it, I don't know, Bukkit server. Why not? Bukkit server. Lovely. And save it in there. Oh, I missed. There we go. Save it in there. Boink. And it will take a moment to download that. So, well, or a minute to download that, whatever. So, once that's done, that's basically all you'd really need to set up a server. But of course, there's some configuration and stuff that you'd want to get right. So that's what we're going to show as well. Now, somewhere, where's that folder? Here it is on my desktop. So I'll just move that over here so I can see what's what. So, oh, it's downloading still. Good. Well, whilst that's downloading, the next thing you'll need is you'll need to actually set that up in some way. Now, there's a next link, which is this one, which is on bukkit.org, wiki.bukkit.org. It's the setting up a server page, and it basically describes how to go about doing that. It's download the craft bucket, blah, 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 blah. Grab this text. That's what it wants you to do. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to copy that text from here. So doink, a bit of that. And basically you want to create a new file in your Bukkit server folder. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to make it a text document for now. But I'm going to replace that name with, I don't know, launch.bat. Bat for a batch file, because we want it to actually run a command. It says, do you want to actually run it? Yes, we do. In order to make sure that you've saved it correctly, make sure you've gone to View and you've got this box ticked right here, file name extensions. Without this, it will hide them and it won't rename correctly. So you want to make sure that's on. If we then edit this file, right-click and edit it, we can paste in that bit of text we had. Now, this may work for you, just with the word Java right here, but a better solution is to put in the full path to Java, wherever it happened to be. Now, normally it is in this path right here. So I'm going to copy that path and I'm going to put it up here. Put it in double quotes, because otherwise those spaces that are in it will confuse it. Oops. So java.exe, because it's an executable program. I'm going to take these last two bits off the end. They were a -0 and then true. That means to force always online mode, but you can probably want to change that if you're not using official clients, or if the Minecraft servers are down, for instance. But you can also change it from the configuration file, which is what I'd recommend. Actually, it's a better solution, I think. So that's that. You need to save this file, so I will just make sure that is indeed saved. Boink, save. Good. Job done. Now, if I close that, and I close that, and, well, let's close everything. Why not? Sure. Then in our server folder we got this. Now, this name that it downloaded as craftbucket-1.72-r0.jar, we are going to rename that because that is a crazy long name. I'm going to get rid of all the numbers, and what you want to do is make sure, so we've got craftbucket.jar now, is you just want to make sure that that does indeed match what you said it was going to be called here in the batch file. And so long as it matches, then you're doing splendidly. Whilst we're in this batch file, the larger this number, the better, basically. This is how much memory you want to assign to the server. It should be in this case, this is 1024 megabytes, which is 1 gigabyte. You can also specify it as 1G or 2G or whatever it is you actually want to assign. It has to be exact numbers, though. You can't just put random 602, for instance. It's got to be either default numbers or nothing. So if you leave it out, I think it defaults to 1 gig of memory, I think. Don't know. Anyway, that's what I've got now, so I'm going to save that just one last time. I'm not sure if I modified anything, but there we go. And at this point, I should be able to double-click on this launch.bat file and have it generate the world. Now you can see here it's loading some libraries. I'm just going to make this window a little bigger so we can see it. And it will then start creating folders and files that it needs for the server. This is the very first time that we've started this server, so there are a few error messages showing up, which is normal. Failed to load the operators list, file not found. Failed to load the whitelist, file not found. Well, that makes sense, since we've never started it before. The other things you'll see it's doing it relatively slowly in my case because I'm recording this and I'm using a remote desktop, so it's even slower. That's fine. And my machine is not particularly good, the Windows machine. So as you can see, it's generating 3 different worlds. It's generating the overworld, so that's level 0. It's generating level 1, which is the nether, and it's generating level 2, which is the end. And you can see that these match up with folders it's created here: world, world nether, and world the end. Now, at this point, we're almost done with setting up the server. One thing you'll want to do probably is to make sure that one of the people that's going to use the server is opt, which means they can use commands and various other things. They can whitelist people, whatnot. In this console window that's opened, you can type op and then a person's name. So in my case, my username is jahg, and it will say jahg is opt. Yay! And that name has gone inside ops.txt. We can actually open this. It's just a text file. There we go. There's a whitelist file as well. By default, whitelisting isn't on. Oh, goodness. So by default, whitelisting's not on, so that's empty by default. But we have a workable server. If I stop the server running properly, you have to type stop, and it will save all the chunks that need to be saved, and then job done. We can close that window when that's done. So at the moment the server is off. It's generated all of this stuff. Let's say that you didn't like the world it had generated. Maybe it was spawned you in a tiny island in the middle of nowhere, as it happens to do that occasionally. You can tweak various parts of the way it generates a map. For instance, there's a file here called server.properties, which is just a text file. We can indeed open this with Notepad. Here we go. And there's bits and pieces in here that you can tweak. For instance, it called the world world. Well, let's say you didn't want it called world and you wanted it called JPM, for instance. You can see here the default server port is listed, which is 25565. That's just a built-in one, so we'll need to remember that one if we're going to connect a network to this in a minute. You can specify whether NPC spawn. You can turn on whitelisting from here. You can turn off snooping from here. In fact, let's do that. Why not? Be gone, Mojang. Oh, flays. Yes, that's how you spell it now. False. There we go. And the difficulty levels you can specify here and so on. You can even specify the message of the day. Let's change this. JPM, random server. Whoops, there we go. Good, good. I don't think I want to change anything else here for the moment. Changing the level name. Oh, yes, I do. I want to also change the level seed. There it is. And it can either be a numeric one, minus whatever that number is, for instance, or you can type in the word of the seed, whatever it might be. So if I type in jahg, for instance, why not? And I save this magic. Before I do that, one thing you won't need to set is the server IP address, because that's going to be for other people to connect to your machine, and they'll need your external IP address for that, not anything you specify here. This would allow you to control other servers if you had that ability. So I'm going to close this. It'll ask me to save it. Yes, I do want to save. If I now delete the world folders, just those 3 folders, then let's get rid of those, and I just run the batch file again. It will once again check for library versions and so on. It does that each time just to keep itself up to date. And then, there we go. We don't have the error messages about ops.txt and so on because they now exist, but you can see it's generating the world again with a different seed. Alright, and now it's done that. We've got folders called JPM, JPM Nether, and JPM The End. At the moment, this is a Craft Bukkit server, but it's basically vanilla because we have no plugins. It's created a plugins folder, but it's not put anything in there. We'll talk about plugins in the next video, probably. So let's just see if this works. So we've got our server here. Everything's set up correctly. Okay, we're ready for the next step, basically. And the next step is to make this server available across the network and across the internet to other people. Now, in order to do that, you're going to need some sort of port mapping application. Now, as you are doubtless aware, Minecraft servers run on computers and they are accessed across a network, and they require an IP address and a port number. Now, by default, that port number is 25565. Now, that's marvelous, but if someone tries to connect to your machine and they don't have this port number, that's not very helpful. If they don't have your IP address, that's not very helpful. You're going to possibly need to tell your network that you are running a Minecraft server. Now, in order to do that, I'd suggest you use a program such as a port mapping application such as this one, which is UPnP Port Mapper. Again, the URL of this is in the video description. Grab it from there. It tells you how you can use it here. It's a very intuitive application that allows you to add different ports, different servers to your machine, so that your network knows who to actually allow in and not. Now, you can download it from this link here, which goes to the SourceForge page for it, and it will download. I have put it on my desktop already, so I don't need to download that again. I will stop the server running temporarily because it's lagging me out a little bit. There we go. So I've got this. Now you can see it's a jar file, which means it's a Java program. So I'm just going to double click it and it should open with, yes it did, with the relevant information, and it will connect eventually. There we go. Sorry, no, I need to actually push a button, don't I? Ta-da! If you push the connect button, it will look for a router on your network, and it will connect to it and show you a list of all the existing routings. Now, I've cleared out all the ones on mine, and you can see that it's got very useful information in here. It lists all of the ports that are requestable from outside your network, and where to direct them inside the network. So I've got my Xbox, for instance, on the network. It's got an IP address of 192.168.0.8, and it's externally accessible through my external IP address with this port. And the same is true with Skype and various other bits and bobs, which are set up across my network already. Now, Minecraft is not set up here, and we need to allow it, otherwise no one can connect to it. Now you can see down here in the router section, you can see the external IP address. Now the external IP address is the one you'll give to your friends so that they can connect to your server. Now I'm going to create a port mapping preset, which allows me to very easily create a set of port mappings that allow me to specify that I want my server to run on 255.68, for instance, instead of the default, or something like that. Now it wants a description. I will put Minecraft server. Oh goodness, if I could spell it. That's a great name. The remote host we can leave blank, because this allows specific people to connect to specific things. It just allows for extra security. We're not going to need it in this case. The tick box for use localhost is what I want because this is my local IP address. That's the IP address of this Windows machine on my network. You can't give that one to your friends to connect to unless they are physically in the same building or on the same network. So that's not too helpful, but it is needed in this case. I'm going to add a port. Now it uses TCP. Port 1 is not what I want. I'm going to delete that and put 25565. I'm going to do the same with the internal port, 25565, so your friends are going to use this one and it's going to connect to this one on this machine. I'm going to add the one for the UDP as well. It's just a different protocol. There we go, 25565. You can have the same port numbers. They all redirect to our Minecraft server, or they will when it's running. So there's that. I'm going to save this, and it's now down here in my presets, but it hasn't added it to the port mapping yet. I'm just going to click Use so that it actually applies those two things here. I actually failed with that, did I not? I have to remove that, and let's try editing that. You can always edit them later, as you can see. 25565, I don't think I pressed enter or something. No, I didn't. Good. So let's save that, and if I use that, I'll probably need to remove that one, won't I? Let's remove that first. You can remove them from this list by clicking on them, and I don't know if you can multi-select. You can. Click remove and they will be gone, and then I will use them. There we go, it's got the right ports now. So now my network has been told that anyone asking for my external IP address using port 25565, it should redirect that to my local machine, which is this Windows box that I'm sat on here, and 25565. So my server will be running on that port and that IP address. So let's give this a go just to see if it will. Now I've got to run the server, so that will take a moment to start up. There it goes. It just very quickly prepares the spawn areas. There we are, we're ready to go. It only does the generation of the land once, of course. So I've got my server running. I will leave that there. I've got my ports open. So now I should be able to connect to that. So I'm going to start Minecraft on a different machine, essentially. As you can see, this is a Mac program that's just popped up in front of my remote desktop session here. So there may be a wee bit of lag here. That's fine, that's good. And I'm going to connect to this, play that particular profile. That's not the server, that's just my profile for the 1.7. Bukkit, of course, is on 1.7.2, but a 1.7.4 client can connect to a 1.7.2 server. So that's why this is going to work. Now I need to set up that server, so I'm going to go into multiplayer, and I'm going to create a new one, add a server. Well, that's fine. Minecraft server is a great name. And in here, you're going to put your external IP address, so whatever that was. Now, because I'm actually on the same network, I am going to have to use my local one, so 192.168.02. It's on the default port, so I won't need the 25565 on the end, but you can put it if you wish, there's no harm. If I click done, we should see, there it is. Is that the one? That is not the one, it's down here. Haha, JPM random server. And you can see it's in my list, and it has 0 players online, which is fair enough. And if I join this, you'll see, or you should see, there you are, you can see in the background of this, oh, the lag. Hello, chicken, I saw you there. Ooh, this is very nice indeed. Jahg joined the game, he certainly did. And you can see on the server itself, you can see the details of that racking up there. So we have a working server, and I can do things, crazy things. Let's just wander over this way a bit. Hello, what's down here? Ooh, little random pit of death. Great. Ooh, flowers, and such and so forth, which is marvellous. Now again, this is a completely vanilla-ish server. Give me that. So there are no plugins on here at the moment. It is very easy to add plugins, but it is very difficult sometimes to configure them because of permissions and whatnot. So I'm probably going to do a completely separate video that show how to set up various plugins. Indeed, hopefully this has been useful to you. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to subscribe or indeed like the video. Let's quit that game, nobody wants to be in that game. If you found it helpful, please let me know in the comments, and thank you very much.